The reason we are hesitating is because we have both of our honored guests here. Honorable Congressman Tanko and Honorable Mayor of Albany, Kathy Sheehan. They have only 10 minutes or 15 minutes here. So we are trying to find out when we invite them. But let's start first with our youth, and I will invite Sister Zeba to introduce the youth. Zeba.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Famous personalities of 21st century like Nelson Mandela and Gandhi found Imam Hussein's bold refusal to side with injustice to be so great as to strengthen their own resolve to fight for justice in Africa and India. In the words of Nelson Mandela, I have spent more than 20 years in prison. Then one night, I decided to surrender by signing all the terms and conditions of government. But suddenly I thought about Imam Hussain. Hussain gave me strength, Hussein's movement to Karbala, and Imam Hussein's strength to stand for the rights of freedom and liberation. So I did. With that, I would like to call Brother Al-Hussein to the podium to give his tribute to Imam Hussain. Brother Amal is a physician at Saratoga Ophthalmology. Dr. Amal is also a very active member of our community at Al-Fatma Islamic Center. He's going to talk about how to be a follower of Imam Hussain. Please welcome him with a very loud Nare Salawat. Brother Amal.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. My dear brothers and sisters, I stand here with great humility and trepidation because I'm assigned a task for which I'm not suited, to talk about our Imam, Hussain ibn Ali. How do you convey to someone who Hussain is? Where is Karbala? And when is Ashura? The answers to these seemingly simple questions transcend our understanding of person, place, and time. For Hussain isn't just the grandson of our last prophet who was martyred 1400 years ago. Rather, Hussain continues to live with us as a philosophy, as an eternal force against tyrants of all times, big or small. Karbala isn't just a piece of land in Iraq. Karbala is every stretch of earth where injustice brews and is confronted by forces of good. And Ashura. Yes, Ashura is the time of Hussein's great tragedy. But Ashura is also every passing moment of our lives that calls for an action against evil and oppression. So how do we, the followers of Hussain, put this all together? How do we make sense of this great tragedy? Let's ask ourselves, what is most important to us in our lives? Wealth, power, status, or friends, families, and children? Hussain sacrificed all of this to show us that there's something even greater worth living and dying for. Justice, equality, fairness, rule of law, freedom, and truth. So as followers of Islam and Hussain, these must be the principles and values that must guide us in our battles that are waged within us and outside of us. And yes, we will sometimes falter. Yes, we will all make mistakes. But as long as Hussain remains our moral compass, we will never give up trying to be good, to be fair, to be moral, to be just, and to call right what is right and wrong that which is wrong. And with that everlasting hope, dear brothers and sisters, I thank you for your audience. I thank you for joining us in this procession today. And above all, I thank each and every one of you for being a follower of Hussain. Please recite a loud Nara Salawat.
Thank you, Amal. I think we made the right selection to start with you. You summarized why we celebrate, why we commemorate Hussain Day. As I said before, we have two honorable guests here. Honorable Congressman Paul Tanko and Honorable Mayor of great city of Albany, Kathy Sheehan. They both have to leave in 15 minutes. So, without any further delay, I'll invite them in just 1 or 2 minutes. But for their understanding of why we do this, 5,000 years ago, Prophet Abraham, the father of all three religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, he confronted tyrant of his time, Namrud, to save his nation from his terror. 3,000 years ago, Prophet Moses, he confronted tyrant of his time, Pharaohs, to save Israelites from bondage and from his terror. 1400 years ago, Imam Hussain alayhi salam also confronted the tyrant of his time, Yazid. And so that you get a sense of what Yazid did, within 6 months of being on the throne, he butchers mercilessly nearly entire family of Prophet Muhammad. Next year, he goes and attacks the holy city of Madinah. Following that, he goes and burns down the holy city of Mecca. He was the super terrorist. And Imam Hussain alayhi salam confronted him, faced him down, and he won. His recipe was, do not bow down to a tyrant. Be willing to sacrifice everything you have to save the truth and justice and freedom. With that, I invite our Honorable Mayor of Albany, Kathy Sheehan. She is a good friend of our community. She has been to our mosque several times. She was here on our first Julus. She is here again. Let's welcome her by reciting Labbaik Ya Hussain. Labbaik Ya Hussain. Labbaik Ya Hussain.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for inviting me here to celebrate with you, to commemorate this very important day. I was very sad last year when we were unable to do this event. When I explained to the organizers that under New York State's rules, you could only have 50 people at an event outside, they said, no, there are too many of us, too many will come. And you are here again today, and I am so grateful. It is important to any city that we are able to celebrate our faiths. It is important in every city that we are able to see and witness one another's faith, that we are able to see and witness that which is important and which is the compass that drives you. And so we are here, the Congressman and I, and the residents of our city who saw you march, we are here to witness your faith, to be moved by that faith, to be inspired by that faith, to ensure that we are doing all that we can as communities together to live up to our faiths and to be able to together respect, understand, and be enriched by one another's faith. And I am enriched by what you are here today commemorating. I am enriched by the stories, by the faith that it inspires, and by how important it is to who you are and to how you worship and to how you lead your lives. So I stand here humbly and grateful for your faith, grateful for your willingness to share that faith with all of us. And I am inspired, and I know that Salam Ya Hussein.
Salam Ya Hussein.
Salam Ya Hussein.
Labbaik Ya Hussein.
Salam Ya Hussein.
Labbaik Ya Hussein. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Let's give her a big hand of applause. Next, I will invite our Honorable Congressman Paul Tanko. He understands what preserving rights means. He is working in Congress on preserving voting rights, financial rights of all those who are in need, who are depressed, who need help. With that, let me welcome our Congressman, our Honorable Congressman Paul Tanko.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. Labbaik La Hussein. Shalom La Hussein. It is an honor to be with you and to join with our great mayor, my friend Kathy Sheehan, to pay tribute to the Muslim community. In this year of great tension in Washington, it is good to know that on the celebration of Imam Hussein, we draw to mind all for which he stood and battled and built his dream so as to make certain that he would resist any intolerance and the info that comes our way, the struggles that he faced, the fact that he would not cower to the forces of evil and division, that he would make certain that he would speak in defense of those who were struggling to be free, inspires all of us decades and centuries later. And so, as the mayor indicated, as you add to the beautiful mosaic of the capital region with your diversity of ethnicity, of creed, of strength that you bring to this greater community, it is humbling to join with all of you as you mark the first month of the Islamic calendar, as we come together in the spirit of Ashura to make certain that we gather and recommit our energies and our focus to fighting for what is good, what is fair, what is just. And that was the spirit of Imam Hussein. As that grandson of the great prophet Muhammad, exactly, we can be inspired in the present by his work, by his not cowering to the forces of evil, by his struggle because of his righteousness, because of his strength, because of his faith, because of his character, his pious nature, his determination. It is only right that we gather today in the spirit of Imam Hussein. And we know that his story inspires so many. In this beginning of the calendar, Muharram, as the first month, is an inspiration to everyone to recommit their energies and their faith to making certain that his saga, his story of deeply rooted faith, and his determination for social and racial justice continues to inspire everyone. So as you bring our attention to this purpose, to this march today, to the spirit that you honor, and the principles for which he stood and struggled and survived that fight to the bitter end, we know that the martyrdom is something that speaks to us forcefully, that we need today to continue to speak to injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So thank you for inspiring us with a beautiful march today, to gather with you here in the West Capitol Park, to join with folks like Mayor Sheehan, to say thank you to the Muslim community. In this first month of the Islamic calendar, we gather together in strength with you. And we say in the spirit of this Ashura celebration, as people come together and soulfully draw to mind what Imam Hussain accomplished in his great works, it should speak to us forcefully today. There's work for us to have his work continue. And let's commit to his strength and his determination to do what is fair and just and stand for human rights everywhere. God bless you one and all.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Wonderful speech, wonderful speech. Thank you, Congressman. And we appreciate you took time out for us from your very busy schedule in Washington, D.C. So now we will continue. I invite Sister Zeba to introduce another speaker.
Jazakallah Imdad Bhai. Khwaja Moinuddin Chishi, the great Sufi saint in the 12th century, praised Imam Hussain and said in his poetry, Hussain is the king, indeed he is the king of kings. Hussain is the faith and the protector of faith. He gave his head but not his hand to allegiance in the hand of Yazid. Indeed, he was the founder of the concept of one God. With that, now I would like to call Sister Zahra Khan to come to the podium and pay her tribute to Imam Hussain. Sister Zahra is a graduate of Shaker High School and now a freshman at Union College. She is also a Sunday school teacher and an active community volunteer. Her speech is about the power of tears. Please welcome Sister Zahra with a loud Nare Salawat.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. First, I would like to say thank you to the members of the Al Fatima community for making this Jalous possible. Also, thank you to all of you who drove from other mosques and communities to stand with us today. And finally, I want to thank Madam Mayor and the Albany administration for letting us spread the message of Hussein in the streets of Albany. It's great to see everyone come together to commemorate Hussein. May God accept our efforts. If we look at the tragedy of Karbala in a cursory manner, not a whole lot stands out. A few dozen men and children were massacred by an army of tens of thousands more than 1,400 years ago at a distinct place in Iraq called Karbala. Mass killings and genocides, much bigger in scale, have happened throughout human history. Just the last few decades, the sheer number of victims of the Holocaust, mass killings in Bosnia or in Rwanda, dwarfed the 72 victims of Karbala. Yet you mention the name Hussein, or say any of his sons, brothers, relatives, or friends, and tears start following from the eyes of people who know the significance of Karbala. Let's compare Hussein with some of the giants of our history and see why his name and his sacrifice stands out. Let's begin with the father of all monotheist religions, Prophet Abraham. He was willing to sacrifice his son in the name of God, and this enshrined his place in the history of mankind. And even now, every year, almost 2 billion Muslims commemorate this act of sacrifice by observing Eid al-Adha. Jesus was not afraid to offer his life for the right cause, and 2,000 years later, billions of Christians and Muslims celebrate his stand against evil. Martin Luther King marched for justice and gave his life in the cause and got immortalized in human history. And let's look at Hussein now. He left his home in Medina and marched through what is now Saudi Arabia and then Iraq. What was his mission? To preach truth and justice and to stand against oppression. He chose to complete his mission in a peaceful way, but keep in mind he was not a helpless and a weak ordinary citizen of Medina. He was the grandson of Prophet Muhammad, son of Ali, and brother of Hassan. All three had been religious and temporal leaders of their times. If he wanted, he could have raised an army stronger than any other in the land, but then his struggle would have been written in history as just another power grab. Instead, he wanted to follow the path of his ancestors, Abraham, Jesus, and Muhammad. Abraham was willing to sacrifice his son. Hussein sacrificed 2 of his sons and all his close male relatives. Like Jesus, he was not willing to die for his cause. He made sure, though dozens of speeches and his actions, that mankind would remember why he made his sacrifice and that his mission would be carried on for centuries to come. Hussein gave tears and blood a new character, a new meaning. His tears were not tears of pain or helplessness. Rather, they were tears of resolve and righteousness. When I was young, I would always be confused, even scared, at how quick it was for the aunts and uncles all around me to start crying profusely as soon as the mention of Hussein was made. How, instead of the blank expressions I had, they held their hands over their eyes, not even trying to cover up the fact that they were crying in front of so many others. Instead of me excitedly waiting for dinner to start, all the adults wanted to stand the extra 20 minutes to beat their chests and read along the narrations of Karbala. What was even more puzzling to me was how the same story was being told year after year, over and over and over again. Hussein, along with his 72 companions, marched into the hot desert where 10,000 Umayyads would greet them with arrows, rocks, and swords. How Zainab and others were paraded and ridiculed in the cities of Kufa and Sham. How the only water source was blocked and taken over by Yazid and his men. It wasn't until April of 2019, until I was physically standing in front of Hussein's shrine in Iraq, did I understand the worth of those tears. It wasn't until that moment that I understood why people wanted to grieve, how they wanted to cry for Hussein and his family. My family and I had traveled from the city of Najaf to Karbala. In Karbala, we had to say goodbye to Hussein. I was asked to read the Ziyarat of Hussein, in other words, a greeting and farewell to our Imams and a call for forgiveness from God. As my mom handed me the book, I was expecting to feel relaxed as I usually feel when I have to recite Arabic. However, this time, I was just so scared and I didn't want to read. I wanted the book to be handed to someone else. And as I started reading, my voice was all shaky and I immediately started crying and had to hand the book to my dad. I remember my mom asking me after why I didn't finish reading. Normally, I would tell her the reason as to why I was so upset, but I couldn't bring myself to tell her the reason I was crying was because I didn't want to say goodbye to Hussein and his family. I didn't want to leave the home of Prophet Muhammad and his children, the place where a 4-year-old girl was beaten, a place where a 6-month-old baby, whose body was pierced with arrows, cradle stood. It was at that moment that I realized I didn't know what goodbye meant until I had to say it to Hussein. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zahra. Beautiful, beautiful speech. Now let's invite his dad to introduce our other 2 youths, Tanveer Khan.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. The bar that Amal and Zara have said, I don't think I can cross that one. Fortunately, I can hide behind my white hair and just not pretend to be a youth. I want to start by saying from Imam Hussain, this is part of his will that he wrote for his brother before leaving for Karbala. And this is a quick reminder why we are all gathered here and what was the mission of Islam and what is the mission of Imam Hussain. He said to his brother, I'm not making mischief nor exercising oppression, but I'm ready to fight for the sole goal of seeking reform for the ummah of my grandfather, the apostle of Allah. I want to enjoin good and forbid evil and guide the affairs of the people as my grandfather and my father Ali ibn Abi Talib were doing. One who accepts me with truth, the Almighty Allah is more deserving for the truth. And one who objects against me, I shall be patient on it, so that the Almighty Allah may judge between me and these people. He is the best of those who judge. The Hussein's sacrifice and Hussein's patience is a universal message, as you heard earlier speakers talk about that. Now I'm going to invite one of our youth speakers, Sister Maryam Jafri, who is a member of our community, a volunteer, a Sunday school teacher, and also a freshman at Siena College. And she's going to talk to us about the sacrifice of Hussein. Sister Maryam Jafri.
Peace be upon Al-Hussein, upon Ali ibn al-Hussein, upon the sons of Al-Hussein, upon the companions of Al-Hussein. Assalamu alaikum, sisters and brothers. 1,443 years ago, a man by the name of Hussain ibn Ali rattled the roots of humanity, justice, and humankind with his patience, with his sacrifice, with his actions, and with his message. He was a man who gave up everything in his possession to save the morals of the Quran and the morals of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. He was a man who sacrificed his brothers, his friends, his companions, and his sons for Islam. He was a man who went into combat alone against 30,000 men for the religion of Islam. Each and every year, we ignite that message once again with our acts of mourning, because Hussein is that man where even if darkness falls upon this earth, his message is still alive. Where even if millions of oppressed believers are around the world, his message is still alive. Because so long as the love of Hussein is alive in the hearts of the believers, Hussein's message is still alive. Had it not been for Hussein, Adam would not have been known. Had it not been for Hussein, Moses would not have been known. Had it not been for Hussein, Jesus would not have been known. Hussain ibn Ali is the paradigm of excellence, that anchor of Islam, Imamat, and the savior of the Risalat. Because on the 10th of Muharram, in the land of Karbala, Hussein showed the world that he is the heart and soul of Zahra. He is a part of Muhammad. He is a piece of Ali ibn Abi Talib. He is a piece of Hassan al-Mujtaba, and the Imam of our time is a part of him. A quote by speaker Sayyid Hussein Makki says that it is important as Muslims around the world remember this date. Broader society embraces it as an interfaith event, as a tragedy that belongs not only to Muslims, but to all of humanity. Imam Hussein's stand for social justice was driven by his faith. He knew that he and his 70+ followers had no chance surviving the assault of the Umayyad army, but it was essential for him to take a stand regardless of the outcome. The murder of the Prophet's family on Ashura changed not only the course of Islam, but of world history. A struggle between justice and tyranny, truth and falsehood is a fight that continues to this day, not only in the Islamic world, but across all major faiths and cultures. This is a struggle that Muslims are embarking on along with their fellow believers from Christianity, Judaism, and other faiths. We are all up against the same wall, and it is high time we work together for the shared causes of social justice and reform. We live in a time of trial and tribulation and have experienced great hardship in the past year. But our yearning for peace and justice is for every single individual in every nation, belief, system, and denomination. And Hussein is that man who gave his head so that you and I stand united with the oppressed, to stand against the oppressors of today who are desperately trying to eradicate the message of Karbala and Islam from the world. We are the followers of Hussein. We are the followers of the one who abolished tyranny, established human and gender equality, highlighted the acts of patience and sacrifice, restored people's confidence in social justice, and gave value to people's rights. We are the defenders of the message of Islam and the message of Hussein today. We are the defenders of the message of the Prophet of Allah today. We are that steadfast community that the mother with broken ribs prayed for, And it is because of those prayers of that mother, we stand united in the face of global media and humanity. We are the ambassadors, the mourners, the followers and the believers of the one who rejected tyranny, who changed the entire course of history, who stood up against oppression, injustice, and inequality, who serves as a beacon of unity, diversity, and courage for every single individual. A man who inspires billions worldwide today as the essence of fairness, courage, sacrifice, and honor. Brothers and sisters today, let us unite under one ummah. Let us unite under the dua of Zahra. Let us unite to commemorate the martyrdom of the greatest, bravest, and most heroic of martyrs. Let us commemorate the martyrdom of the hero of all martyrs. Let us commemorate the martyrdom of the man who gave up his 6-month-old infant for Islam. Today, every man, woman, child, and youth will raise their hand and will call out labbaik to our Imam. Today we will say labbaik. Today we will say labbaik so loud to our Imam that our voices will reach Karbala to our Master Hussain. That our voices will reach Baqi and gladden the heart of Zahra. That our voices will reach Najaf to the grave of Ali. And our voices will reach the Imam of our time. Labbaik ya Hussain! Labbaik ya Hussain! Labbaik ya Hussain!
Thank you, Sister Mariam. And our last youth speaker will continue discussing the message of justice and peace by Imam Hussain. The speaker name is Mahin Fatma. She has been involved in the youth community within Albany since she was 5. She's a graduate of Medical College Dow, and inshallah she's aspiring to be a physician. Sister Mahin Fatima.
14 centuries ago, one man made the ultimate stand. He gave his life for dignity, equality, and justice. He changed the course of history and inspired generations. That man was Hussain as-Salam. Assalamu alaikum everyone and good afternoon. My name is Maheen, and don't worry, I'm not the sheikh here to give a khutbah. I'm going to try wrapping this up short and sweet for you all. I want to share some of my thoughts regarding an extraordinary, valuable human being, Imam Hussain alayhi salam. It's my goal to illustrate the relevance behind his story and hopefully to show you how timeless and universal his message is. First and foremost, there's a clear division of what is right and what is wrong when it comes to human rights. And the Prince of Peace and Justice, Imam Hussain, was a keen believer of this. He was a man with profound inner peace and wisdom. He belonged to the world. His legacy truly ends up giving people the light that they forever seek for, Karbala. Antonio Barra once said, "No battle in the modern and past history of mankind has earned more sympathy and admiration as well as provided more lessons than the martyrdom of Hussain alayhi salam in the Battle of Karbala." Karbala was such an essential event that teaches us to stand for the oppressed. If you are to believe in something that is immoral, you are to stand for what is right, even at the cost of your family. Imam Hussain walked away from all the riches and power and chose to fight against oppression, even till his last breath, knowing that him and his companions are not going to survive at the end. This makes Karbala such a timeless event because there's an overwhelming number of oppression, but the Imam fought for what was right. There was no disparity between his words and his actions. He truly lived with integrity. The poet Josh Mahabadi once penned down saying, "He smashed the pride of power, reducing it to dust. He tumbled the throne, crushing the ruler and his lust. He shook the empire, undoing its pomp and pageantry. He dealt a blow to the kingship and bureaucracy. Thus the rule of tyrant was abased forever, and the word Yazid was debased forever." The Battle of Karbala commenced with Hussein's 72 companions facing off against what historians number to be 30,000 people. He stood for every wronged man or woman before oppressive rulers, reapproaching wrongdoers and encouraging the oppressed to persist in their struggles for freedom and dignity. One such persona who had been inspired by Imam Hussain alayhi salam in the stand of tyranny was the famous Indian non-violence freedom fighter Mahatma Gandhi. In one of his marches against the British colonial rule in India, he chose 72 people to accompany him, and when he was asked for this choice, he said he did so to follow the footsteps of the 72 martyrs in Karbala, as Imam Hussain was truly a role model for him. You see, the story of Karbala is not just for the Shias, for the Muslims, but it's for any human who wants to stand against oppression. Or someone to seek justice. We're learning through Hussain what it means to be true to yourself, even when the odds are against your favor. There's a golden rule to life that says, do well to others as others will do to you. But we are taught with Imam Hussein's legacy that regardless of how negatively others treat you, we must always stand true to our principles, even how bleak the situation may appear. Ordinary people like you and I witness the humanitarian challenges every day, and we can strive to implement the strength and courage that the Imam embodied throughout his life and the course of events in Karbala. In today's era, we resonate with his legacy of the battle between right and wrong, whether it's standing up and showing up for our Black, Palestinian, Afghani, or Syrian brothers and sisters, or whether it's to stand up for the women's rights, or just to make the environment a better, safe place. The Imam intimates that tyranny and oppression occurs almost every day, and these atrocities happen in every country. We are to show that Imam Hussain was such an exemplary leader. He had so much compassion, so much empathy and graciousness towards all, and he wanted to see the goodness and potential in everyone. He truly had the impeccable personality and outstanding leadership skills. All said and done, Imam Hussein's martyrdom was singular and one of its own kind. Its impact was universal, transcending geographic, ethnic, and nationalistic boundaries. What makes Imam Hussein's mission and message and martyrdom unique is that besides impacting the Muslims, it reflects on the thinking of non-Muslims of all walks of life. His startling personality forces us to look within our own life and see what contribution are we adding to our family, to our friends, or to our community members. He is truly a role model for all of us, given by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I want you to remember a few words. Hussain is a soul, Hussain is an idea, Hussain is an attitude, Hussain is heroism. Thank you all for listening.
Let's give all our youth a big hand of applause. Thank you, Mariam, and thank you, Maheen. Now we move to grown-ups, and the first person I like to invite is Shaka Jafri. He came all the way from New York. He's a good friend of our community, has always been very, very helpful to us. So without any further ado, let me invite Shaka.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. Mu'mineen and the honorable guests, the mayor and the congressman, brothers and sisters, I bring the message of Labbaik Ya Hussain from the City of New York. City of New York had the honor, ever since the influx of the immigrants from the Indo-Pakistan subcontinent and the rest of the world in the 60s and 70s, is a focal point where all the events on Islam, Islamic Day Parade, and the event which you are witnessing, the Ashur and Arba'in and the Shahadat Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, they all started in New York. Nothing happened in the rest of the nation until New York started that. The Julus Ashura in 1986. We started it, bunch of Mu'mineen. At that time, there were not many more people than you see now in the city of New York, in Manhattan. And now, mashallah, mashallah, we command an audience of 12, 13, and 15,000 people. The one just happened, which about a month ago, or 30 days ago, that Julus attracted 15,000 people. That's in Manhattan. Now you have in all the corridors of United States and Canada, these processions are held with great honor and with great dignity. Salawat. I will not dare to enter the discussion of the martyrdom, because ulama kalam are here and it's their right and their place. That's above my pay grade. But I would say this much, that until now I did not hear a word about who was the real creator of this Julus, this procession. I did not hear the name of Zainab. The tragedy of Karbala or any of the form of Azadari cannot be complained, cannot be illustrated, cannot be mentioned, cannot be complete without the contribution of Zainab, the sister of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. After the Shahada, as you all know, and then the speakers have very well elaborated on the subject, Zainab was the one who came up with this idea that what her brother had started, she had to complete it. And Mu'mineen, she went from the desert of Karbala all the way to Sham, Syria, talking in the way. That was the first Julus. Right, Maulana? That was the Julus. That is the essence of this Julus. We are related to you for no other reason except that we are all the servants of Ahlul Bayt. No ethnicity, whether we are Arab or the Asham, Afghan, Indian or Pakistani, African American, or from people any other background, we are all one nation, and that is the nation of Ahlul Bayt. That's what we are, and that's we should participate in large numbers. As you know, until 2003, there was no procession in Karbala. After United States entered Iraq and killed that butcher of Baghdad, there was for decades, they would Dabat, who controlled Iraq, would not allow any kind of procession. That was the first year, 2003, Arbaeen procession started. That started with few thousand people. Now I'm sure you heard it, that more than Hajj Akbar, or Hajj of anyone, any kind. In the Hajj, in the good days and non-COVID days, there were not more than 3 million people in the Hajj. But we hear, I have not been there yet, but we hear that on the Arbaeen Julus, which is about to take place, there are 10, 15 and 20 million people. That is Labbaik Ya Hussain. That is Labbaik Ya Zainab. So I'm asking you to please understand the essence of this procession. This procession, you just cannot shy away from this one. This is a procession of Zainab. You talk about Labbaik Ya Hussain, but don't forget to say Labbaik Ya Zainab. She was the master of this procession. At the waning moment of the Zul Azim, the grand sacrifice, Hussain Ali asked Shumar to give him a few seconds to pray, which he did. After the prayers, he raised his hand and said, "Oh Allah, oh Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, oh Zul Ikram, I did everything only for you. I sacrificed my ashab, my awlad, my friends, all of them. I did it only because of you, Ya Allah. I did my work. Now you do. I kept my promise. Now you keep yours." Those are the last words of Hussain Ali. हर जहन में है कुछ ना कुछ तस्वुर हक, हर जहन में है कुछ न कुछ तस्वुर हक, हम उस तस्वुर हक को हुसैन कहते हैं। Salawat.
Thank you, Shaukat. Now, next I would like to invite Haider Naqvi Sahab to share his thoughts about Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Let's welcome him by reciting a loud Nara Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشैतान الرजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। बहुत शुक्रिया। आगा शौकत जाफरी साहब फरमा रहे थे कि लब्बैक या हुसैन के साथ हमें लब्बैक या ज़ैनब कहना चाहिए। तो एक शायर ने कहा था कि हदीस इश्क दो बाबस करबला व दमिश्क, हदीस इश्क दो बाबस करबला व दमिश्क, यके हुसैन रकम कर दीगरे ज़ैनब। और ये जो हम इस दीन को देख रहे हैं, ये आप लोग जो बैठे हुए हैं, ये इधर मेरी बहनें, मेरी माएँ, ये जो बैठी हुई हैं, ये इस बात का अयादा कर रही हैं और ये हमें बता रही हैं कि दीन औरत के बग़ैर नामुकम्मल है। जनाब ज़ैनब सलामुल्लाह अलैहा की कुर्बानी थी जिसकी वजह से ये दीन आगे प्रोपगेट किया और हम लोगों तक पहुंचा, वरना हुसैन कुश्ता शुद अंदर दरे सके। और दूसरी बात ये है कि ये कुल्ले यौमिन आशूरा और कुल्ले अर्ज़िन करबला, इसके बाद हम कहते हैं कि लब्बैक या हुसैन, हम हाजिर हैं आपके लिए। तो क्या लब्बैक या हुसैन हमारे यहाँ सिर्फ बैठ जाना काफ़ी है, या हमारा सिर्फ ये स्लोगन बुलंद कर लेना काफ़ी है? इस इंसान को बेदार तो हो लेने दो, हर शख्स पुकारेगा हमारे हैं हुसैन। तो क्या ये लब्बैक कहना ख़वातीन जो पर्दे के साथ यहाँ आती हैं, ये लब्बैक या हुसैन है, ये लब्बैक या ज़ैनब? हर भूखे को खाना खिलाना लब्बैक या हुसैन? हर इंसान के बारे में ये सोचना लब्बैक या हुसैन? कुरान मजीद की आयत के वतासिमु बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम वतासिमु बिहब्लिल्लाहि जमीअन वला तफर्रकू, के अल्लाह की रस्सी को मजबूती से थाम लो और तफरका न डालो। क्या हुसैन सिर्फ हमारे हैं? क्या हुसैन सिर्फ इन चंद लोगों के हैं जो यहाँ पे बैठे हुए हैं? क्या ये जो लब्बैक या हुसैन इस वक्त कह रहे हैं हुसैन इनके हैं? हर वो ज़ी शऊर जो अपने आप को इंसान कहलाता है, हुसैन उसके हैं और ये उसका फ़र्ज़ है कि वो इस लब्बैक या हुसैन की सदा पे लब्बैक कहे। ये अल्लाह ताला से उसने अपना वादा पूरा करना है इस सिलसिले में कि लब्बैक या हुसैन के ऊपर उसने अपने आप को लब्बैक कहा था और वो इस जुल्म के खिलाफ खड़े हो जाना लब्बैक या हुसैन है। इसी पैगाम के साथ और मौजूदा दौर में अलीउन वलीउल्लाह अपना कलमा मुकम्मल तौर पर अदा करना लब्बैक या हुसैन है। ये हमारे तमाम फ़राइज़ हैं जो इस स्लोगन के जवाब में हमें कहने पड़ेंगे और हमें इमाम ज़माना के हुजूर में जवाबदेह होना पड़ेगा। इसके साथ ही जो साहब ने कहा था कि कर दिया तूने ये साबित है दिलावर आदमी, कर दिया तूने ये साबित है दिलावर आदमी, जिंदगी क्या मौत से लेता है टक्कर आदमी, और काट सकता है रगे गर्दन से खंजर आदमी, और लश्करों को रोक सकते हैं 72 आदमी, ज़ौफ़ ढा सकता है कसरे अफसरों और रंग को, और आप जीने तोड़ सकते हैं हिसारे संग को। अपने आप की किल्लत पे आप ये ना समझिएगा कि आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते। आप उन 72 को मानने वाले हैं जो पूरे सिनेरियो को दुनिया में तब्दील कर सकते हैं। दरूद बर मोहम्मद वाला।
Thank you, Haider Bhai. Next, I'd like to invite the President of Pakistan Association, Akbar Khan Sahab. Akbar Sahab.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. After such great presentations, I would just like to thank Al-Fatma Center and all the volunteers for inviting all of us, not just their mosque or masjid membership, but all the Muslim community, and we really appreciate that. Brother Dr. Imam Imdad, Brother Shaka Jafri, Sayyid Hussain, and the Imams of the Masjid, and each and every one, I really am thankful for taking this step towards unity. Regardless of our differences as human beings, we are all one. We are together. We are together to fight the oppression and the example set by our forefathers. Imam Hassan and Hussain al-Islam was a great example of that. And we all agree on that, and it will continue to be a guidance till the doomsday. Now, we had a great event 2 years ago, and last year it was not possible because of the COVID. And this year we have good number of people, but inshallah, we can expect more and more people in the future. So let's work together in peace and establish the justice and hold on to the messages that we are inherited with. Thank you and Jazakallah.
Thank you, Akbar Sahab. I have two more speakers. Next, I invite Colonel Mahmood to say a few words, and after that, Maulana Sahab. But I have been asked that there is extra food. If you want to pick up another box or two more boxes, you are very welcome to do that. It's very delicious. It was cooked few hours ago. Please.
पेशदार इसके कि मेरे दोस्त कर्नल महमूद उन्हें ख्यालात का इजहार करें। आज के इस जुलूस का जो मैसेज मैं अपना फ़र्ज़ समझता हूँ डिलीवर करना, वो ये है कि हम पंजगाना नमाज में कहते हैं इहदिना सिरातल मुस्तकीम। माने क्या है, या अल्लाह हमें सिरात मुस्तकीम पर कायम रख, या कुछ तर्जुमा इस तरह होता है कि हमें सीधा रास्ता दिखा। तो जिसने सीधा रास्ता देखना है, आज मैं इस मेंबर से, इस स्टेज से ऐलान कर रहा हूँ कि वो सीधा रास्ता इमाम हुसैन का रास्ता है। आप इस पे चलेंगे तो सीधा जन्नत में जाएंगे इंशाअल्लाह। जनाब कर्नल महमूद।
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. I am not an alim. I am just a humble Muslim. I would just like to say two things. First is, let's develop harmony and cohesiveness among our communities, especially the shades of Muslims. Muslims are getting hot. Muslims are fighting each other. One brother is killing another brother. This is unfortunate story of Muslims of today. So I would ask everyone around to please make a kind of a gesture with another Muslim that you are brothers and sisters, and stay brothers and sisters in true sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Sahab. Our last speaker is our resident scholar, Muhammad Yaqub Khundi. He joined us few months back, and I invite him to talk about Imam Hussain Islam and his message. Maulana Sahab.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين. I'm Sheikh, but I'm not going to recite long khutbah. First of all, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for granting us this opportunity to come and gather here in this procession. And this procession has been organized to commemorate the martyrdom of Imam Al-Hussein, his companions, and his family. We are commemorating the martyrdom of that great personality who gave his life for humanity. We are commemorating the martyrdom of that purified personality who sacrificed himself, his family, and his companions for peace and justice. Today we are here to convey the message of Karbala. Today we are here to convey the message of Imam Al-Hussein. We need to understand that who is Imam Al-Hussein. Our brothers and sisters, they have mentioned that Hussein ibn Ali is the grandson of Prophet Muhammad. Regarding Imam Al-Hussein, the Holy Prophet of Islam says, Inna al-Husayna misbahul huda wa safinatun najah. Indeed, my grandson Hussein is the light of guidance and the ark of salvation. No doubt, after the demise of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, Imam Al-Hussein in 61 after Hijrah in the plains of Karbala, he proved that he is the light of guidance and the ark of salvation. Imam Al-Hussein stood up against Yazid, and Imam Hussein's battle was with Yazid. Everybody has to know that what was the reason behind that battle. Who was Yazid? What did he do? I'm going to mention what did he do without going too much in details. In short, in brief, Yazid promoted oppression. Yazid violated Islamic values and practices. Yazid interfered in the establishment of court. Yazid violated human rights. Yazid aggressively occupied the honor and wealth of people. Yazid tried to build his empire according to his own desires. But Imam Hussein did not allow it to happen. That's why today our slogan is Labbaik Ya Hussein. That's why our slogan is Labbaik Ya Zainab and Labbaik Ya Sajjad. We all know that Imam Al-Hussein left Medina and came to Karbala. The reason of leaving Medina, Imam Hussein mentioned that why did he leave Medina? What was the reason behind this spiritual journey of Abu Abdullah? Why did he leave Medina? Before leaving Medina, there are so many opinions, I'm not going in detail. There are so many ideas from the scholars, from the ulamas, from the intellectuals. I'm not going in detail. In short, Imam Al-Hussein, before leaving Medina, he mentions, he wrote down a letter and he gave it to his brother Muhammad Hanafiya. And Imam mentioned, Inni lam akhruj. This point is extremely important, my brothers and sisters. Inni lam akhruj ashran wala batran wala mufsidan wala zalima. I'm not leaving Medina to oppress people. I'm not leaving Medina to violate Islamic values. I'm not leaving Medina to make fun. I'm not leaving Medina to entertain myself. Innama kharajtu litalab al-islah fi ummati jaddi. I'm leaving Medina to improve the condition of the nation of my grandfather Muhammad. I'm leaving Medina to improve the condition of the ummah. So what did we get from this message of Imam Al-Hussein? We have got the message of Abu Abdullah. What was the message of Abu Abdullah? Al-Islah, reformation. Imam Hussein left Medina for reformation, for humanity, for justice. That's why another name of Islam is peace. The word Islam, it comes from peace. Islam, it conveys the message of peace. Islam values people's wealth and their lives. Islam is the name of a society based on justice. Islam is the name of a society based on peace and tranquility. Islam opposes terrorism. Islam doesn't tolerate oppression anymore. Islam teaches us the protection of human rights. That's why Imam Al-Hussein mentioned, Ala tarawna ila al-haq la yu'amalu bih wa la yutanaha
وإلى الباطل لا يتناهى عنه. Don't you see that the right is not being exercised and the falsehood and wrong is being promoted? Yazid drinks alcohol openly and he openly mistreats other women. Then Imam Al-Hussein mentioned, Misli la yubayu mislah. One like me cannot pledge allegiance to one like Yazid. Imam Al-Hussein openly announced, I, Hussein ibn Ali, cannot accept Yazid's injustice, empire and kingdom anymore. That's why justice was missing from the human societies. Therefore, Imam Al-Hussein stood up and he gave his life to save humanity, peace, tranquility, and justice. Today, we are here to condemn oppression. Today, we are here to give priority to humanity for its betterment. We are the followers of Ahlul Bayt. We are the lovers of Imam Al-Hussein. We are the lovers of Ahlul Bayt. That's why our slogan will be, till the day of judgment, will be Labbaik ya Hussein, Labbaik ya Zainab, Labbaik ya Sajjad. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
The speeches are over. We have to thank few people and then we'll have dua. We thank our government officials, City of Albany, Governor's Office for giving us the permission. We thank the police department to be here in numbers to guide us and protect us. We also thank all our visitors who have come from out of town, New York, New Jersey, and also Connecticut and other places. In addition to that, we thank all our speakers and finally the people who made this happen. Number one on my list is Shaka Jafri. Where are you, sir? You know, he got the permission and it takes a lot of effort to get the permission, line up the park, line up the route, get the police department to be here and so forth. So he did an outstanding job. We have Imran Ali. All the communication you are getting is from him. We have Haider Khaja. He got our external people here. And also we had Channel 13 and Spectrum News here. If you want to see, you may like to watch the news tonight. And also we have a number of other volunteers. Jarrar Hussain, Shahriyar, Khurram, Mukarram, Anjum, Jafar, and also Brother Shahzad, Tanveer Sahab. Among sisters, behind the army of the sisters are Sister Zeba, Sister Tasneem, Sister Henna, and Sister Sajida. Final thank to Sayyid Hussain Sahab. This is his brainchild. He really made it happen the year before and also this year. He wants to make sure this continues, and inshallah, with Allah's help, with your support, we will continue this. With this, I like to invite Sheikh Shubbar to make a short dua, and that will be the end of the program, inshallah. Sheikh Shubbar.
Sister and brother, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This next week, Zainab salamullahi alayha is going to ziyarat qabr al-Imam al-Hussein salamullahi alayhi. My God, Imam Hussein, please everyone, next year inshallah, ziyarat qabr al-Imam al-Hussein, please everyone stand up. Your voice to Karbala 5 times. Labbaik ya Hussein. Labbaik ya Hussein. لبيك يا حسين لبيك يا حسين لبيك يا حسين السلام على الحسين اللهم نسأله وندعوه أن يتقبل منا خالص الدعاء السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله سلام الله عليك ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد من زيارتكم تقدر السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين السلام على أم المصائب زينب السلام على أبا الفضل العباس السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفوة الله everyone السلام عليك يا وارث نوح النبي الله السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله السلام عليك يا وارث علي ولي الله السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى everyone السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر حتى أتاك اليقين تكرار لعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به لرسوله السلام عليك يا ابن بنت رسول الله السلام عليك ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم السلام على علي بن الحسين زين العابدين everyone ومحمد بن علي الباقر وجعفر بن محمد الصادق وموسى بن جعفر الكاظم وعلي بن موسى الرضا ومحمد بن علي الجواد وعلي بن محمد الهادي والحسن بن علي العسكري السلام على إمامنا وقائمنا الحجة بن الحسن اللهم عجل فرجا وسهل مخرجا together اللهم كن لوليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين 3 times يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين اللهم بحق فاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والتسعة المعصومين من ذريتها وبنيها اللهم اغني كل فقير اللهم اشبع كل جائع اللهم اكسو كل عريان اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك إلى روح نبينا الأكرم أئمتنا الأطهار ولا سيما الإمام الحسين وآل بيته وأصحابه وأموات الحاضرين فردا فردا ولشفاء المرضى وقبول الأعمال واستجابة الدعاء الفاتحة مع الصلوات 3 times على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد مؤمنين مؤمنات thank you so much.
Thank you, Sheikh Shubbar. One last thank you. I was missing a very important person. Let's thank Brother Nawaz Shah and his family for sponsoring today's tabarruk and all the drinks and water. Let's thank him by reciting a very loud Nawaz Salwa. Allahumma salli ala.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Tonight, Namaz Maghrib in Al-Fatma Islamic Center will be held at 7:30 by Jamaat, inshallah.
Tanir bhai, very nice. Very good arranged.